So now we're going to talk about how to convert units, and this time we're talking about units of capacity. And these are things for how much volume something takes up instead of length. Now we're talking about volume. And the ones that you're probably used to seeing are things like this: a gallon, a quart, pints, cups, and fluid ounces. So if you think about it, a cup of water, 2 cups is a pint, and then 2 pints are a quart. One way of thinking about that is 4 quarts, think about a quarter, is equal to 1 gallon. So that's just a way of remembering it. You'll still have the conversion units as you need. So in this problem it says here, and we're on page 646 now, on this problem it says here, Sue is making punch. She needs 3 3/4 cups of orange juice and 5 pints of lemonade. How many fluid ounces of orange juice and how many quarts of lemonade does she need? So we're still going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be either multiplying or dividing to convert the units, and we're going to be using this here to figure out what to do with that. So in this problem here, we're going to convert 3 3/4 cups to fluid ounces. Now, if we look at the conversion that's up at the top on page 646, it says that there's 8 fluid ounces in each cup. So that's why we're using 8 fluid ounces in each cup. So we're going from cups to fluid ounces, so that's a bigger unit to a smaller unit, so we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply again by that 8, which is, since there's 8 fluid ounces in each cup. So when I do that, 3 3/4 is equal to 3 times 8, which is 24, and then 3/4 times 8, which is, if you think about it, 3/4 times 8 is the same as 3/4 times 8 over 1, which is going to equal to 24 over 4, which is going to get us to that 6. So 24 plus 6 is 30 fluid ounces. Now let's move on to the next one here. So in this case here it says we're changing pints to quarts. Which one is bigger? Pints are smaller, quarts are bigger. It says here 2 pints is equal to 1 quart. So all I'm going to do is 5 pints divide by 2. And when I divide by 2, I'm going to end up with 5 halves, which then, if I change that improper fraction into a mixed number, 2.5 quarts. So that's my answer, 2.5 quarts. So we're going to move on to the next page now and do some practice. So on page 647 is where we're at now. It says here, why would you change 4 gallons, 5 quarts to 5 gallons and 1 quart? Well, because this 5 quarts is the same as 1 gallon and 1 extra quart, because if we divide 5 quarts by 4, we're going to end up with 1 gallon and then 1 quart left over, so 1 remainder 1. So that's how you end up with 5 gallons, because you've got the 4 originally, plus the 1 more, with a remainder of 1. That's what the extra quart is there. Why is 1/8 of a cup equal to 1 fluid ounce? Well, because if you think about it, if you have a cup, well, if you just have 1 fluid ounce, and we're changing it to cups, what we're going to do is we're going to divide by that factor of 8, because you're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit. Divide by 8. So it's going to be 1/8. Okay, so these ones here, just going to do a couple. We'll practice this a little bit more in class. 32 cups to gallons. This one's a little bit harder, because you have to do a couple of jumps, because you can't just immediately go from cups to gallons. When we go back and we look at our original thing, it's going to be really important to keep in mind those conversion rates that are in the previous page. In fact, it's so important I went ahead and I put them right up here. So we're converting here cups to gallons, and when we convert cups to gallons, we're going from this here, we're going from cups to pints, then from pints to quarts, and finally quarts to gallons. So each time we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit. So we're going to divide first by 2, so 32 divided by 2 is 16. So I would have 16 pints. That is going to be equal to 32 cups. But I'm not looking for pints. I'm looking for gallons. So I need to change it now to quarts. So I'm going to divide by 2. So that's going to be 8 quarts. And finally, I'm going to divide that by 4 to get from quarts to gallons. So it's going to be 2 gallons. So the answer to this is going to be 2. The rest of these are actually easier compared to that. Half a quart to a gallon. Which one's bigger, quarts or gallons? Well, quarts are smaller than gallons. So I'm going to go ahead and divide. If we look back up here again, I'm going to divide by 4. So it's going to be, what's 1/2 divide by 4? That's the same as 1/2. Let's remember it's 4 over 1 times 1 over 4. So it's going to equal 1/8 of a gallon. Which makes sense because there would be less gallons than there would be quarts. 48 quarts to pints. This one's actually an easy one because you've got it right there. Let's erase this a little bit just so we can see it. So if you see right here, we've got our quarts to pints right there. So if I'm changing it, which one's bigger, quarts to pints? So I'm going to multiply by 2 and just end up with 96. 6 1/8 quarts to cups. That one there's again a little bit trickier. I'm going to go ahead and take, first of all, go from quarts to pints, and then from pints, quarts to pints, and then from pints to cups. So I'm going to have to multiply by 2 twice. So when I multiply 6 by 2, I end up with 12. Then I multiply by 2 again, I end up with 24. When I multiply 1/8 by 2, I get 2/8. Multiplied by 2 again, I end up with 4/8. So this is going to be 24, and what's 4/8? 24.5 cups. So that's a good amount of cups. So we're going to practice a few of these more in class. For these ones here, page 647, we're just going to talk about if we're going to multiply or divide, just like we did in the previous one, to get the answer. So 10 pints to quarts, which one's bigger? Quarts are bigger, so we're going to divide here. Fluid ounces to cups, which one's bigger? Fluid ounces is smaller, so again, we're going to divide here. Cups to pints, yet again, smaller to bigger, so again, we're going to divide here. 9 1/4 pints to cups, pints are bigger, so we're going to multiply. 36 pints to quarts, which one's bigger? Quarts, so we're going to divide. 30 quarts to gallons in quarts. Quarts are definitely smaller than gallons, so we're going to divide again. Quarts to gallons again, divide. 5 gallons to cups. Gallons are definitely bigger than cups, so we're going to have to multiply. Actually, we're going to have to multiply a couple of times. 1 gallon and 1 cup to fluid ounces. That is definitely going to be multiplication. So we're going from something bigger to something smaller. Cups to fluid ounces, multiplication. Pints to gallons. Pints are smaller, so it's going to be division. Pints to cups, it's going to be then, in this case here, it's going to be multiplication because pints are bigger. So this can actually be really useful. 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts. It's also equal to 8 pints. It's also equal to, because we're going to multiply the 1 gallon times 4, and then the 4 quarts times 2 to get to pints. The pints we're going to multiply by 2 to get to 16 cups. When we multiply 16 times 8, we're going to end up with, I'm going to have to do it here. So it's going to be 128. And similarly enough, when we have 2 gallons, we're going to end up with 8, 16, and 32.